Michael Brissenden reporting. There are just two electorates in the Northern Territory, Solomon, which covers Darwin and Palmerston, and Lingiari. This week, Statline went out on the hustings, with some of the candidates vying to represent Darwin and Palmerston in federal parliament. This is Solomon, where the voters are urban dwellers, a high proportion have young families, the median income is above average, but rising house prices and the high cost of living have many feeling the pinch. In 2001, it became the most marginal electorate in the country, won by just 88 votes. In 2004, the sitting CLP member David Tollner managed to claw back some ground, but it's still tight, held by a margin of 2.8%. Political analysts say it's one to watch.
Solomon is one of the 16 seats that Labor needs to win if it wants to form government after the election.
The polls have Solomon going Labor's way, but its high turnover of voters makes it hard to pick. Anthony Green says it's a bellwether seat, usually falling the way of the party that ultimately wins government.
I think Northern Territory voters have got a long reputation of being able to pick who's winning government, particularly Solomon. I think the idea is that basically you vote for whoever's going to be in government because it's governments that deliver money to the Northern Territory.
Excuse me, sir.
Given that trend, the sitting member David Tollner is staking his hopes on the prosperity of the nation under John Howard's leadership.
People in the Northern Territory, and Solomon in particular, I think will first and foremost be concerned about the state of the economy.
David Tollner is an affable, knockabout character who's had his share of gaffes during his 2 terms in federal parliament.
When I was first elected, it was a huge learning curve to try and come to grips with the job. But certainly over the last 6 years now, we're starting to see some pretty good results.
David Tollner points to securing community crime prevention grants and lobbying hard for an oncology unit as some of his personal achievements. He's also proud of what he sees as the spin-off benefits of the work choices legislation.
The fact is it's working, people are getting into the jobs. The reason it's working so well here is because we have such a great number of small businesses in the Territory, and it's small businesses that have really benefited from that legislation.
Unions started their campaign against David Tollner early.
You cannot deny people being sacked.
Solomon does have one of the lowest unemployment rates in the country.
Our unemployment rate in Solomon now is 1.9%, and that's down from 6.4% when the legislation was first introduced back in March last year.
Unemployment was actually 3% in March last year, not 6.4%. David Tollner is better known for his good bloke approachability than his grasp of details.
Dead right.
Now,
how's it going? Good yourself, mate? No, I can't complain.
The CLP's candidate is keen to capitalise on the anger felt by many top-enders about unpopular changes recently made by Claire Martin's government.
I think it would be a dreadful indictment on Australia if we were to have a federal government on the same vein that we have a Martin Labor government here, the same people who gave us speed limits, demerit points, forced council amalgamations.
In the face of John Howard's attacks on state and territory Labor governments, the ALP's candidate Damian Hale has attempted to distance himself from some of the territory government's less popular policies, like the merging of local government bodies.
I think that issue, is a state issue, and this is a federal election. We've come out and said that we do not support forced amalgamations, and we support plebiscites in regards to council reforms.
Damian Hale is best known as the premiership-winning football coach of St Mary's and head coach at the Northern Territory Institute of Sport.
I get said I'm only a football coach, that comes up a bit, but certainly there's a lot more in my life.
He's also been the Australian Apprentice of the Year and worked at the Dondale Juvenile Detention Centre. Not a long-time member of the ALP, he's quickly become well-versed in the party line.
People want to know about the future. They want to know about what do both parties offer in regards to education, climate change, health and industrial relations. I'm finding those 4 issues are the 4 big ones.
Damian Hale might be a newcomer to politics, but he has the Labor Party machine behind him, funding pamphlets like these warning of a nuclear future in the heart of Darwin if David Tollner is elected.
Of course nobody's talking about building reactors in Milner or Jingley or Palmerston. It's just crazy.
Well, I think that whether it's unlikely or not irrelevant to me. I think it's just something that needs to be thrashed out. Let's have a clear line in the sand drawn between Damian Hale does not support nuclear power and Dave Tollner does.
It's clear where the Greens stand on this issue.
Mining is okay, but we need it to be sustainable. Unfortunately, uranium mining has got so many issues with waste, occupational hazards for the employees, and then the huge ones of proliferation of nuclear weapons.
Are you guys enrolled to vote?
The Greens platform calls for greater investment in renewable energy and an end to the transport of nuclear material through Darwin Harbour, as well as a stop to uranium mining. Last election, the Greens received 6.8% of the primary vote in Solomon. Greens candidate Deborah Hudson is hoping to better that this time around.
I'm aiming to win, and of course Greens are a small party and we can't overlook that, but the power of the Greens lies in holding the balance of power in the Senate, and we've got a really good chance to do that.
The bookies have Damian Hale as the odds-on favourite at $1.50. This morning, David Tollner was a $2.40 chance to retain his seat.
I don't really read too much into that.
Nominations to contest the 2007 federal election close on the 1st of November. Until a moment
would have wanted.
Political editor Michael Brissenden. The seat of Solomon, which covers Darwin and Palmerston, is held by the CLP with a margin of 2.8%, and it's considered one of the 16 Labor must win to form government. Welcome to the CLP candidate David Tollner and the Labor candidate Damian Hale. Welcome to you both.
Great to be with you.
David Tollner, can I start with you? Last election you said a vote for Dave Tollner was a vote for John Howard. Now you've deviated from that this time around. Is that because you no longer think John Howard is a plus for the coalition?
I've never deviated from that at all. I think John Howard's doing a fantastic job.
He doesn't feature in your campaign material in the way that he did last time?
Well, he features in my campaign material quite heavily. I don't know where this question's coming from.
Does it concern you at all that Kevin Rudd is the preferred Prime Minister in the polls?
Well, he's certainly not my preferred Prime Minister.
Well, Damian Hale, in the end, do you think this will boil down to a battle between Kevin Rudd and John Howard? Your platforms locally, yours and Dave Tollner's, are almost identical.
Yeah, I think it'll be an interesting camp, as it winds down in the last week, and certainly both leaders are working hard, but certainly all of us in our seats are contributing as well, and I know I'm doing long hours, and I imagine my opponent would be as well, but certainly it is about the local issues as well, and I'd just like to be able to deliver for the people of Darwin and Palmerston.
Do you accept that locally your platforms are fairly similar?
Well, I think that we're totally different, to be honest. Kevin Rudd has come out and been quite adamant in wanting to have an education revolution, stop the buck passing on health, real action on climate change, infrastructure improvements through broadband, obviously, and Tiger Brennan's part of that, a commitment that I've made. And being someone from Palmerston and a local person as well, like I grew up in the northern suburbs and went to St John's College and live in Palmerston and bringing my family up there, I'm really concerned about what we actually have got from the federal government in the last 11 years, and I'm frustrated by Tiger Brennan, I'm frustrated by the medical centre, so I want to make my contribution.
Have you pushed to see Claire Martin build Tiger Brennan?
Well, I've been in contact with the Northern Territory government, but our commitment
have you
is
asked them
74.
why they're not building it?
But we've got $74 million on the table, all right? That is the important part of this. I'm not interested in the blame game. We're talking about the future prosperity.
But ultimately they'll be
of
the
Darwin.
ones building it. Have you asked them why they haven't built it?
$74 million we've got on the table to complete it. I'm listening to the people of Palmerston and the rural area on this one, and I'll be guided by what they're telling me. This is a major piece of infrastructure that needs to be built.
Well, let's talk about another local issue that does centre on Palmerston as well.
It has been one of the issues of the week, David Tollner. Can you guarantee that there'll be a 24-hour medical clinic in Palmerston under a coalition
I've
government?
always guaranteed that, Melinda. The fact is...
There has been a little bit of confusion over whether that will in fact be a 24-hour,
well, I think
7-day a week.
that confusion has been generated by the media and the Labor Party, but the fact is I've committed to it, the federal government's committed to it. We're as keen as mustard to see the thing put together, and you know, I look at our proposal compared to Labor's proposal. Labor say they're going to meet the capital costs of some sort of clinic there. Ultimately, Labor's proposal relies heavily on territory Labor, the Labor government here, who've proven themselves to be completely useless when it comes to funding on an ongoing way clinics in Palmerston. Twice now they've withdrawn their funding from it, and if their proposal relies on territory Labor, it's a dead duck.
So your medical clinic in Palmerston, can you say now, give an ironclad guarantee that it will be open 24 hours, 7 days a week?
Well, I've said that right from the word go.
And will that be operated by the Commonwealth Government then?
No, we've said that we're going to look to private providers. We've talked, and I've talked extensively to doctors in Palmerston and to the AMA and other people in the medical profession, and we're working closely with them to make sure that a facility is going to operate there.
The AMA does say that
as
it will
in
take...
deference to the Northern Territory Labor government, who have a track record of failure in this particular area, and that's what Kevin Rudd's proposal hangs on.
Can I ask you both, because now your promise of a medical clinic in Palmerston is identical. The AMA and local doctors argue there simply isn't enough demand in Palmerston to justify the expense.
Well, that's not what the AMA argues. The AMA says that local physicians and doctors need to be consulted and worked with in order to make it sustainable, which is something that Labor haven't done. See, this is the point of difference, Melinda. We are quite keen to consult with local doctors and the local medical profession to make sure that the thing is done sustainably. Labor, on the other hand, are going to consult with territory government Labor, who have proven themselves to be totally inadequate when it comes to the job of delivering health services in Palmerston.
Well, Damian, how can you respond to that? Because there was a clinic there that did close down. How will you make your clinic work?
Well, one of the fantastic things facing the electorate on the 24th of November is to end the blame game. Kevin Rudd has said from day one of the campaign that health, the buck stops with him. He came up here and announced the first GP super clinic on September the 1st would be in Palmerston. We're committed to that. We've got $10 million on the table. I'm sure that I can talk with the AMA to make sure this is delivered. But people are sick of the blame game on this. They're sick of hearing about whose fault it is. They want to move forward.
Is that an acknowledgement, though, that the Territory Labor government has failed in this area?
It's acknowledgement that the people of Palmerston have been let down and the people of the rural area have been let down. We've got $10 million on the table, and as my opponent stated, that he came out on Wednesday and said it would happen. He had his legs cut off at the knees by the Health Minister, Tony Abbott, who then had to come out and recommit to it. So their commitment's all over the place. Ours has been set there, $10 million since the 1st of September.
Let's look at another area where, again, your platforms are very similar, apart from the amount of money that's being spent, and this is on closed-circuit TV cameras. Damian Hale, can I ask you, you've said that David Tollner's campaign is being run on law and order. Can't you be accused as well of misleading voters that you have any control over law and order in the Territory? Police resources and policy won't be within your realm if you're elected, will they?
Look, we've all got problems with law and order. You know, we've all got issues, and crime is what we're seeing on the streets of Darwin no one's happy about, and Dave and I agree on that. All right, where the difference is that I've spoken to Kevin Rudd's office previously about this, and he came up 2 weeks ago, and we've committed $2.2 million to closed-circuit television. I noticed today that Dave's come out. He's running a platform on law and order, but only committed $1 million. Now look, there is Commonwealth money available for this. The police do a fantastic job. I'm fully supportive of the Northern Territory Police Force. They're a wonderful group of people in tough circumstances. But once again, our commitment was here 2 weeks ago for $2.25 million. Dave's come out today, 8 days out from an election, and committed $1 million, and that's his major platform has been crime, but yet he has come up with something that's not even half our commitment.
Well, David, tell me your response to that.
8 days from election, I've been working on law and order issues in the Territory for many, many years now.
It seems that your campaign's more targeted at the Territory government, though, than at your opponent.
Well, ultimately the Territory government is to blame in this area. They are soft on crime, and that is just a fact. The Territory government have let this situation get out of hand, the same way that they let the situation get out of hand in remote communities, to the point where the federal government had to step in. They've let law and order slip. They are soft on crime, and people need to ask themselves, do you want to federalise soft on crime policies? On one hand, you've got a very clear choice here. You've got a soft on crime, soft on sentencing Labor Party, and you've got a tough on crime coalition. I think the choice is pretty simple. Labor have let the crime rates rise. Violent crime, of course, is up by 80% in the last 12 months. That's all under Claire Martin's watch. We can't afford to have that.
$1 million fix the crime problem in Darwin.
It's not the money, it's the attitude. And the fact is, Damien, you know, I know, everybody out there also knows, Labor is soft on crime. Always have been, always will be.
I have to stop you there. I have time for one final question for you both, and you'll both have to be quick. Damian Hale, is Palmerston the battleground for the swinging voters in this election?
Look, I'd like to think that I'm representing all people from all different areas.
Is Palmerston where it matters? Is that where you're trying to get votes?
Well, I live in Palmerston, and I think the people of Palmerston have been let down by David Tollner and John Howard, and I'll be quite honest about that. I think that they've let them down over the last 6 years. They've failed to deliver for the people of Palmerston, and I'm going into bat for them.
And David Tollner, just briefly, do you think this election will be won or lost in Palmerston?
Look, the election will be won or lost in Solomon. Every voter counts in Solomon. The fact is, people in Palmerston will have a say, the same as people in northern suburbs have a say, the same as people in Darwin City. So,
I have to wrap it up there, but thank you and good luck to you both.
All right,
thank you.